Hey, what's up, yo? Back with another one. I know my camera's set up and my sound is probably way off, and I'm trying to start this up again. I got some really cool videos that we're gonna go through. I mean, they're kind of, I don't know, conspiracy theory, learning a little bit. All I do know is that I spent a lot of time on TikTok getting them, so they may be old. I'm going to try to get into the newer videos, try to get them in time, so then we can watch them. But as of now, what I got here, I think you guys are really going to like.
May 1968, a nuclear submarine vanished in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. 99 men were on board. None of them survived. The USS Scorpion was one of the most advanced submarines in the United States Navy. It was fully armed, fully crewed, and on its way home to Norfolk, Virginia. Then it went silent. When the wreckage was finally found, investigators couldn't agree on what caused the sinking. Equipment failure, a faulty torpedo, an accident no one could explain. But declassified documents told a different story. Some analysts believed the Navy had quietly identified the real cause and buried it. Because at the same time, in the same stretch of ocean, a Soviet submarine was operating nearby. A confrontation between two nuclear powers. Neither side wanted a war, and 99 men were at the center of it. The official investigation was closed without a definitive answer. The families were given nothing solid. The wreckage still sits on the ocean floor, 2 miles down. And the full truth may still be sitting in a classified file somewhere, waiting.
Morbid Facts, Part 376. In 1998, Dana Carvey underwent open heart surgery to clear a blocked artery, but the surgeon operated on the wrong blood vessel. After spending 6 months recovering from the life-threatening botch, he won a $7.5 million lawsuit against the hospital and donated all of it to charity. In 2015, an Italian grandma accidentally sent 2 adults and 3 children to the hospital after making them hot cocoa that had expired in 1990. Pearl Jam's song Jeremy was based on the real-life classroom suicide of 15-year-old Texas student Jeremy Wade. He was released from a mental hospital once his parents' insurance money ran out, so he brought a revolver to class and shot himself in front of 30 students. In 2013,
That one, when I started listening to Pearl Jam, that was, I really don't like this echo. There we go. When I started listening to Pearl Jam, that was like the main song, Jeremy, and I knew that was based off of a true story. And God, knowing that and listening to that song totally changes the way you hear it. You gotta definitely listen to the song, watch the information on the kid that did kill himself, and then listen to it again. It totally changes the song, 100%.
a collection of files revealed that the U.S. government lobotomized over 2,000 veterans against their will after World War II. They were lobotomized for reasons such as PTSD, depression, schizophrenia, and homosexuality.
There's a few really fascinating historical accounts about ships floating in the sky that have turned into folklore, and what makes them interesting is their interaction with people down on the land. I'm going to tell you 3 of these accounts so you can see how strange it is that the people that are in these floating ships think that the people on the land are the ones underneath the water. So I think the most famous and well-known one is the floating ship over Clonmacnoise in Ireland. So the monks in this monastery saw this ship floating over, and an anchor came down and snagged on the top of the monastery. So a guy came out of the ship and came down to try and free this anchor, and they got hold of him, and they were hanging on to him until they realised he appeared to be drowning in the air. So they had to free him and let him go back up to his ship, otherwise he was going to drown. Another Irish tale, which is almost the inversion of that story, a group of monks were sailing to Rome and they had this blind lad on board and the anchor snagged on what they thought was some coral, so they sent him down to try and free it, but he didn't come back up, so they just sailed away. They think they must have cut the anchor, just sailed away and assumed that that was him gone. But what had happened was he ended up staying down there and living with the monks and learning some of their stuff. And then a year later, they're sailing past the exact same spot, and a massive storm hits, so they end up dropping anchor, and then the blind lad that had disappeared the year before climbs back up and onto the ship. And this one's unrelated, but equally fascinating. So apparently some sailor from Bristol was out in the middle of the ocean sailing, and he dropped his knife, and it went plunging into the ocean, and the knife subsequently fell out of the sky through his skylight at his house back home, and landed face down in his kitchen table where his wife was sat eating breakfast. This is what leads me to believe that the layers of reality and physics aren't exactly as we think they are. When it comes to the first story about the monks, I've already covered this location in Ireland. Where that particular monastery is built is actually on sacred old land.
Man, did they get young Pharaoh? Bruh, we gotta talk.
Peace be from this your boy Young Pharaoh, Kilo, Feed the Holy Ghost, and this is serious, seriously. I'm out at Chipotle right now with them stingers on, swag, brother. It is what it is. I'm in Detroit. What's up? I'm getting ready to go back to the crib, stream on Star Wars Battlefront 2. If you stream on Star Wars Battlefront 2, hop on, pop off. Because that's what's about to happen. With that being said, I see y'all there. Love y'all, appreciate y'all. It's the Holy Ghost.
Dude, how can you go with them nails, bro? Honestly. I don't know how the women do it. Dang. The clicking itself would drive me crazy. Dude. Leave a comment if you know exactly how they do this, because, yeah, no, I don't. I'm sorry, I don't. It's just, yeah, no.
Bro, I got abducted before by extraterrestrials.
What?
Do you believe that? Look me in my eyes.
What the fuck? No, absolutely fucking not, because you're still here on the internet raising hell.
Look me in my eyes.
No.
And tell me I'm lying.
You're lying.
That's the problem. I'm aware of something you're not. You won't see though.
What's up with your tongue? Why you always do your tongue like this?
I don't know, part of my personality. I like to flick my tongue out. Part of my swag, part of my micro-expression, I don't know. But I'm aware of something I'm aware of shit.
So tell me what happened.
Young motherfuckers before Dr. Umar and nigga, we used to have niggas like Brother Polite. And it was young Pharaoh, bro. I'm talking about he was a real one, was going through some core shit from Buffalo. And I'm talking about he used to break it down, man, the science of this shit. Oh, this is before this wave of shit y'all going in now. But dog, what has happened to my dog, bro? People want to say they got to him. Who got to him? See, that's why I said, man, I left that whole woke side because Brother Polite, he was scamming the shit out you, riding Bentley and everything. But, you know, I come back when it starts making sense, and Young Pharaoh was a real one. Anybody know below, y'all comment about Young Pharaoh. He's still out here. But now I be looking at the nigga, he be playing video games. Dog was deep as hell. He was getting the bag, too. He on here playing video games. He wearing nails now. And he always used to warn us back in the day, if y'all see me acting weird, they got me. Is this weird? Damn right it's weird, man. What happened to my dog, bro? Are they sending wavelengths to get our brothers, man, and people, and have people crashing out and stuff like that? Is Young Pharaoh under a spell, bro? Man, look at my nigga, bro. This ain't the same nigga, man. I'm trying to tell y'all. If y'all know anything about this situation, y'all help me out. This is what my community do this at. We come together and we talk about it. What happened to my dog? Who the fuck did this to him? How? I remember when he used to rock and be on nigga, man. You know what I'm saying? He was about masculinity and all that. What's going on, man? But he was just so woke. He was just on his shit. He used to get the rocks and the minerals. He used to tell you what's good for your body. Don't stare at the TVs. They will control your mind. He just like, he all in. Y'all pray for my nigga, man. I don't know what's wrong with him. That's what it all come down to. What's crazy is, y'all, the nigga still has times where he just so educated and intellectual. And then it's these times where he just slip off. I don't know, man. Y'all think he, like, man, you know, y'all come below, man. What y'all think happened to my dog, bro? Y'all come below. That shit kind of messing with me, man. Y'all come below, man. Damn, he got on nails, like, damn, dog. This is Good News Radio. Chill.
In this classic 90s Britney Spears music video, Hit Me Baby One More Time, her skirt was plaid, right? Wait, what? And while we're on Britney Spears, she had a microphone in this video, didn't she? Where did that go? Oh, you're saying she never had it? Well then why did Lizzie McGuire have one when she parodied the video? And why did the doll have it? And you remember the Disney theme opening where Tinkerbell flies in and dots the eye? I guess Disney says that actually never happened. My guess is maybe we're confusing it with this one. And do you remember Tweedledee and Tweedledum from Alice in Wonderland? And the little propellers on their hats, right? Wrong, they were apparently flags. And do you remember Snuffy, Big Bird's companion from Sesame Street? Do you remember his full name? Snuffleupagus, right? Wrong, it was apparently Snuffleupagus. Let me know which ones you remember.
Alright, these Mandela effects, man, drive me crazy. Because I don't know, it's hard to explain. I'm 45. I played video games my whole life. I was into music, everything. So, and my kids, they would watch the newer shows at the time, and I would spend time watching the shows with them. I mean, I love SpongeBob, I love Fairly Odd Parents, Wizards of Waverly Place, all that stuff. I used to watch it all. Dude, some of these things that they come up with that wasn't. I mean, I remember one thing, but the other seems right too. I mean, I don't know if it's because I'm seeing the new one so much and it just has become norm and it's normal to me. I don't know. Dude, I love watching the Mandela effects, but some of them I just, like the Sinbad one. I've never heard of that. I knew the Shaq one. I didn't know the Sinbad one. But, you know, I wouldn't put it past them. Luke, I am your father. Dude, I grew up with that saying. I mean, I don't get it. Maybe it is a psych op to see if they could change history. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I mean, why don't you guys tell me how you feel in the comments? You know, what's your favorite Mandela effect? But me, mine that I hate the most is the Luke, I'm your father, because everything states yes. The actors even say they said it, but they say no, never happened. I mean, I don't know. You tell me. Freaking crazy.
We are crossing over the small mountain range and still proceeding northward as best as can be ascertained. Beyond the mountain range is what appears to be a valley with a small river or stream running through the center portion.
I would love going.
There should be no green valley below. Something is definitely wrong and abnormal here. We should be over ice and snow. To the port side are great forests growing on the mountain slopes. Our navigation instruments are still spinning. The gyroscope is oscillating back and forth. 10:05 hours. I alter altitude to 1,400 feet and execute a sharp left turn to better examine the valley below. It is green with either moss or a type of tight-knit grass. The light here seems different. I cannot see the sun anymore. We make another left turn and we spot what seems to be a large animal of some kind below us. It appears to be an elephant. No, it looks more like a mammoth. This is incredible. Yet, there it is. Decrease altitude to 1,000 feet and take binoculars to better examine the animal. It is confirmed. It is definitely a mammoth-like animal. Report this to base camp. 10:30 hours. Encountering more rolling green hills now. The external temperature indicator reads 74 degrees Fahrenheit. Continuing on our heading now. Navigation instruments seem normal now. I am puzzled over their actions. Attempt to contact base camp. Radio is not functioning. 11:30 hours. Countryside below is more level and normal, if I may use that word. Ahead we spot what seems to be a city. This is impossible. Aircraft seems light and oddly buoyant. The controls refuse to respond. My God! Off our port and starboard wings are a strange type of aircraft. They are closing rapidly alongside. They are disc-shaped and have a radiant quality to them. They are close enough now to see the markings on them. It is a type of swastika. This is fantastic. Where are we? What has happened? I tug at the controls again. They will not respond. We are caught in an invisible vice grip of some type.
Who's reading this?
11:35 hours. Our radio crackles and a voice comes through in English with what perhaps is a slight Nordic or Germanic accent. The message is, "Welcome, Admiral, to our domain. We shall land you in exactly 7 minutes. Relax, Admiral, you are in good hands." I note the engines of our plane have stopped running. The aircraft is under some strange control and is now turning itself. The controls are useless.
Top 5 creepiest conspiracy theories. Be sure to give me a follow for daily horror content. Number 5. Dark web content can be easily accessible on the surface web. I dive deeply into this theory, check the page, but I strongly believe there's websites out there that have dark web content on it. The biggest example being the ync.com. With loose guidelines and massive amounts of disturbing content, this theory seems rather plausible. Number 4. We live in a simulation. The movie The Matrix depicts this theory, which is terrifying to even comprehend. This theory stems around the fact that nothing is real, and we are all being controlled by a simulation. Think of it like a real-life video game, but we have no clue. Number 3.
Dude, I remember when The Matrix came out. I love that movie. And then when the DVD came out, I remember going to a friend of mine's dentist appointment with him, and he had his laptop, and he had the Matrix movie. And I was watching it while I was waiting for him with his dentist appointment. And on the screen, the DVD would have this special, thing. It would be the white rabbit. It would show up right in the corner of the screen, and you can click it, and then it would go into the behind the scenes footage, the how they made the scene, how they did it, so on and so forth. I loved it. It was great, dude. If you could get the DVD version of The Matrix and watch it on like a laptop or maybe even your computer, see if the little white rabbit comes up, and you'll be able to do it, man. It was awesome. I love doing it. It totally changed the experience of the DVD.
The Illuminati. This theory stems from a wealthy society that was founded in 1776, with claims to have been disbanded in 1790. There's still speculation out there that they are still very well operational. From the news we hear to the food we eat, this theory believes everything is controlled and monitored by this secret organization. Number 2, the dead internet theory. This theory suggests that there are more bots than actual people on the internet. Let's address the elephant in the room. Yes, I use an AI voice for my videos, but I can assure you I am a real person, or am I? All jokes aside, if this theory holds any truth, it's truly terrifying to think how quickly AI is taking over. Number 1, the Antarctica theory. Antarctica is huge and mostly unexplored. But why? Almost nobody lives there. Speculation is that the government is hiding ancient artifacts, alien technology, or secret research bases. Along with speculation that an advanced civilization existed, with rumors that evidence of this civilization is buried underneath ice formations. What conspiracy theories do you believe? I'd love to hear in the comments down below.
Every single one.
Sometimes something a little different happens.
Whoops, I'll get it.
Sometimes.
It looks like you're in a studio, maybe in Omaha, Nebraska or something. The shot is so clear. Is this a hoax? Are you really in space still?
See the hair?
And we can totally see the hairspray that is quite obviously in your hair. Now keep your eyes right here.
There it is.
He obviously pulls on something, a wire harness, something. Oh my gosh, you guys, look how everything is floating. Look at that. Oh, except the water. Don't look at that.
Nope.
Larry, you're in the shot. Larry, can you please do? No, don't put your coffee down.
My question is, how can you operate a lid on the outside of the space station by manipulating something mechanical on the inside of the space station without losing air pressure?
It's called real good engineering.
So a tortilla, a massive tortilla. Let me know when he figures it out.
Troops. Sorry about that, guys.
You never told us we'd be fighting humans. More like angry demons with skin. Everything was quiet. Then we heard one whisper, peekaboo, before jumping out of a bush and mowing down 17 of our guys. They wrote, send more in the blood of our fallen on our own dropship. One screamed, this is Sparta, and kicked our general off a cliff. Are you crazy? I'm not going back. One of them bit me. Through armor. I have tetanus now. One kept throwing our energy grenades back at us with a pickleball racket. They brought a goose. Just a regular, angry goose. And let it loose. We surrendered. They left a note that said, be right back. When we picked it up, hish, it exploded. I tried playing dead. One yelled, unzip its pants. I've never ran faster in my entire life.
Schizophrenic is actually seeing the truth. What if when we die, the light at the end of the tunnel is the light to another hospital room? There you are born, and the only reason you come out crying is because you remember everything from your past life, and you're crying at the fact that you died and lost everything. As you grow up, you start to forget your past life and focus on your new life, but patches of memory stay behind, and that memory causes deja vu. The files were released to hide something worse. AI was introduced to us because we are becoming more awake and questioning things, and AI confuses us so we don't know what's real or fake. Schools stopped teaching cursive handwriting so future generations won't be able to read the Constitution, like in its original form. If humans didn't have ears, we wouldn't know what sound is. If we didn't have noses, we wouldn't know that smell existed, etc. So what don't we have that makes us not know something exists? Sandra Bland was not alive in her mugshot. If you don't know about this, Google it. That posts like these are actually just the government trying to find out how much we know. Oops. Bruno Mars is not from Mars. NASA never stopped exploring the ocean. They just stopped sharing what's in it. I believe this. That lemon cutting video was definite proof of the Matrix glitching caught on camera. If you haven't seen that video, go look it up. Bob Ross was a killer and would pay.
Unconventional money-making methods most Americans don't know. Part 30. Step 1. Head to Printful or Printify and create a free account. These are print-on-demand platforms that connect directly to your Etsy or Shopify store and let you design custom products like t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, and phone cases so that every time a customer orders, the platform prints and ships it straight to their door without you ever touching a single product or spending $1 on inventory. Step 2. Before you start designing, pick a specific niche because generic products don't convert. Think dog owners, nurses, teachers, or gym lovers, and create designs that speak directly to them because niche stores consistently outperform stores trying to appeal to everyone. Step 3. Here's where it gets interesting. There's zero inventory cost and zero risk of unsold stock, so your only investment is time and creativity. Sellers typically earn $100 to $5,000 monthly. And once a winning design is found, it can sell on autopilot for years without you touching it again. Keep uploading consistently and report all income to the IRS. Most people don't realize you can build a real product business with zero inventory.
Not bad.
Reality is a simulation, and Jesus knew it, and he tried to warn us, but the church erased it. Sound crazy? Well, then ask yourself this. Have you ever wondered if
When you get a chance, look this guy up. He has some great content, and I love watching him. I was like hooked on him for like a month straight. I would just watch his videos. They were so interesting. This guy knows his stuff.
Everything that you see, everything you touch could be an illusion, a hologram, a simulation, a cosmic deepfake. Well, Jesus already figured this out 2,000 years ago, and what's even wilder is that modern physics is proving him right. See, today, scientists are discovering that matter doesn't even exist, that everything is just structured information, a projection from a higher reality. But here's the crazy part. An ancient book called The Sophia of Jesus Christ revealed this secret almost 2,000 years ago, and the church was so terrified of what it said that they banned it. So if this world is an illusion, then who built it? And more importantly, how do you escape? And by the end of this video, you'll know. And once you do, you'll never see reality the same way again. The Sophia of Jesus Christ is a book that was likely written in the 1st or 2nd century CE, and the church was not happy. They tried to Control-Alt-Delete this info by banning it and persecuting anyone who had it. But luckily, it was discovered in 1945, buried near the tombs of Egypt. And in this book, Jesus appears not in the flesh, but as pure, blinding light. But who is the Sophia in the Sophia of Jesus Christ? Well, Sophia is the Greek word for wisdom. So this book is called The Wisdom of Jesus Christ. But Sophia is also a goddess of pure light, more powerful than the God of the Bible. So we'll get to that soon, but first, what exactly does this book the church feared so much actually reveal? According to this book, after the crucifixion, Jesus' followers were basically having an existential crisis. The man that they thought was going to bring about a new reality was just dead. Game over. Or so they thought, because something insane happened. According to the Sophia of Jesus Christ, Jesus returned, but not in the way that anyone was expecting, and he was about to reveal that this world is nothing like what it seems. The text says, "The Savior appeared, not in his previous form, but in the invisible spirit, and his likeness resembles a great angel of light. But his resemblance I must not describe. No mortal flesh could endure it, but only pure, perfect flesh." So this was Jesus 2.0. Not as a body, but as light. A light that's so pure the average person couldn't even look at him. So why is this important? Well, he wasn't just trying to make a dramatic entrance. Jesus was showing that he basically hacked his way out of the simulation. Because reality, it's not made of matter. He was like Neo, free from the Matrix, and his message to the disciples? Reality is not what you were told. Now, his disciples, which were 12 men and 7 women, according to this book, gathered around a mountain called Divination and Joy. And they were confused. They had seen Jesus die, but here he was, like an angel of light. And they weren't asking him about love thy neighbor, fish and loaves, or turning the other cheek. They wanted answers. So they straight up asked him, what is the underlying reality of the universe? Now hold on for a minute, pause. Do you notice something different here? This isn't the Bible story they tell you in church. They weren't asking about simple moral lessons or parables. They wanted to know what reality itself actually is. And Jesus, he didn't sugarcoat it. He didn't tell them to just have faith or pray on it. Instead, he hit them with this. I want you to know that all men from the foundation of the world until now, while they have inquired about God, who he is and what he is like, they have not found him. The wisest among them have speculated from the ordering of the world and its movements, but their speculation has not reached the truth. So Jesus was saying that no one has figured this out. Not the greatest philosophers, not the holiest priests, not even that one friend who always thinks they've unlocked the universe after one ayahuasca trip. Because they've all been looking in the wrong place. But Jesus wasn't trapped like them because he wasn't from here. He tells them, I, who came from infinite light, am here, for I know him, light, that I might speak to you about the precise nature of the truth. So Jesus is straight up saying that he came from beyond this world, beyond this simulation, this illusion, this prison of a false reality. And then he casually drops this bombshell. I want you to know that everything that exists was brought forth from a single source of infinite light, but the world itself is polluted. So did you catch that? He just said that everything that exists, everything was born from a singularity of infinite light. Do you know how crazy this is? This is a book that's almost 2,000 years old, and Jesus was literally talking about the Big Bang thousands of years before modern science even existed. But Jesus didn't stop there. The world we live in, he's saying it's not real and that everything comes from light, but the material world is a polluted version of that something greater, purer, that's hidden from us. All right, so maybe you're thinking, okay, but this is all just a bunch of mystical mumbo-jumbo speculation, right? Well, no, it turns out that modern physics has been inching towards the exact same conclusion, except instead of calling it divine revelation, they called it quantum mechanics. Enter David Bohm, who was one of the most influential physicists of the 20th century. He took one look at reality and basically said, yeah, this is all an elaborate light show. Bohm proposed that everything we perceive as solid matter is actually born from light. Sound familiar? Bohm said, light can carry information about the entire universe. Light, by interactions of different rays, produces particles in all the diverse structures of matter. They are ripples on this vast ocean of light. This ocean of energy could be thought of as an ocean of light. Okay, think about that. The universe itself, everything you see, touch, or experience in general, it's not actually solid. It's patterns of condensed and structured light. So if it's all light, then why does it still hurt when you stub your toe? Well, Bohm described matter as frozen light. He said, all matter is a condensation of light into patterns moving back and forth at average speeds, which are less than the speed of light. In other words, everything we call physical is just light pretending to be solid, light that's been slowed down. And this aligns perfectly with what the Gnostic gospel of Jesus was saying thousands of years ago. When Jesus appeared not as a flesh and blood man, but as pure light, he wasn't just trying out a new look because he thought it looked cool. He was showing them that this world, the material world, is an illusion of light. It's part of a structured, interconnected, light-based simulation. And to make this make even more sense, I want to try a quick thought experiment. Imagine a pool of water. Well, the water represents pure light. Now imagine parts of that water freezing into ice. That ice? Well, that's like matter. It's still water. It hasn't become something else. It's just a different state of the same fundamental substance. So just like ice is transformed water, matter is transformed light. Reality isn't what it seems. And to begin to see through the illusion is to realize that we were never separate from the light. We are the light. We've just been slowed down, frozen into form, trapped in a dense illusion. But the truth, we've always been part of the infinite source. Now, before we reveal more mind-blowing things that Jesus said in this banned gospel, I want you to understand how reality could be a structured simulation of light. And to do that, let's think about holograms. Now, a hologram is an image that looks real, that looks like it's three-dimensional, but it's actually just structured light. How? Well, it works by manipulating how light waves interact with each other, and it creates an illusion of depth and form. So at its core, a hologram is possible because light behaves like a wave. So when you look at a hologram, your eyes aren't seeing a physical object. Instead, they're seeing a structure of light, and your brain interprets these patterns as three-dimensional form, even though no actual object exists. Now, here's where it gets weird, because the universe is like a giant hologram. What we see as physical is just a reflection of deeper information. In other words, what if physical reality is like a hologram that you can touch and feel? In this Gnostic gospel, Jesus is saying,
The Holographic Universe, I think the book is called. Never read it, but I heard about it.
something very similar almost 2,000 years ago. Now, this was not the message the early church wanted people to hear. Jesus was Neo and Morpheus rolled into one. He was standing there basically holding out red pills, trying to break people out of the Matrix. Now, the disciples were still trying to understand what Jesus was revealing. If the world is an illusion, and if everything they've ever known was false, then where was the real truth? And who was God, really? And how could they possibly find him if the wisest people in history weren't able to? Well, Jesus said, "Since no one rules over him, he has no name. For whoever has a name is the creation of another." So Philip, probably rethinking his entire existence, is trying to understand and asks, "Lord, how then did he, the source, appear to the perfect ones?" In other words, if no one has ever seen God, if he has no physical form, if he can't even be named, then how can anyone know him? And by the way, that's why calling this source of reality he is already wrong. But since the text uses it, we'll roll with it for now. But in reality, the true God, the source of divine light, is beyond gender, beyond form, beyond anything we can imagine. So Philip had a good question, and Jesus has a great answer. Before anything is visible, the majesty and the authority are in him, since he embraces the whole of the totalities while nothing embraces him. Everything, the entire universe, every star, every soul, every hidden reality, everything exists within this infinite source, and he exists within us. In other words, the source is in everything. So to begin to understand the invisible realm, the hidden realm, it's about beginning to realize that it's in everything visible, everything out there and inside of you. And then Jesus drops a revelation that science is just now catching up to. For he is all mind, and he is thought, and considering, and reflecting, and rationality, and power. They are equal powers. They are the sources of the totalities. Okay, let's break that down. The universe, it's not made of matter, it's not physical, it's thought. It's pure mind. Now wait, hold up. Didn't we just say reality is light? Now we're saying it's mind? So which is it? Both. Here's the crazy part. Light isn't like anything else in the universe. It moves at the absolute speed limit of reality. Nothing can go faster. And here's where it gets weirder. Photons, particles of light, have no mass. And if we imagine reality from the perspective of a photon, it wouldn't experience space. It wouldn't experience time. In other words, light isn't physical. Light isn't matter. Light is mind. And the true God, he's not a king who rules over others. It's pure mind, pure light. Everything we experience is thought made manifest. Light slowed down. Thought and light are actually the same thing. This is a reality of thought, a reality of light, not of matter. Sound crazy? Well, guess what? This aligns perfectly with what some of the greatest minds in physics have discovered.
Dude, I'm telling you, man. This guy, if you watch his videos, his content, oh, it is great. It is thought-provoking. I mean, all of it. Shout out to him, man, because when I first started watching the conspiracy theory videos and all that other stuff, he showed up once, and I decided to look into his stuff. Man, his videos are outrageous. And I want to say I'm sorry for my cats. I have 4 cats and a dog, and the cats, they rule the house. So if you hear them, I'm sorry. I'll try to block them out. I don't know if I can, but they'll jump up on here and they'll get in the video and all that. I'm sorry for that. It's only my camera that'll get messed up. The actual video clips that we're watching won't. So I'm very sorry for that. And I'm going to try to work on cutting off sound when I'm not talking so that if they do whine in the background, you won't hear it. I'm sorry about that.
Here's 4 dark theories about the Titanic tragedy. So in its first theory, it states that an out-of-control coal fire is one of the main reasons that the Titanic sank. So this is a newer theory that started catching steam in 2017 when a BBC documentary came out showing 2 new photos of the Titanic. A collection of photos were found that were taken by the electrician that worked for Harlan and Wolff who built the Titanic, and these were taken like right as the Titanic was put into the sea for the first time, and they started noticing some burn marks on the side of the hull. And if you look closely, you can see some burn marks here on the side of the ship. Now, the coal fire was a confirmed thing, so that is true. They know that the fire was in coal bunker number 6, which was located around the burn mark area. That's also near where the iceberg struck. And they also found these old newspaper snippets that talked about the coal fire. So this newspaper got a snippet from a fireman on the Titanic, J. Dilly, that said a fire had been raging in the coal bunkers since the day the Titanic left Southampton, and that 12 men were fighting the blaze for 3 days before they were able to get it under control. Is 1 day before the Titanic hit the iceberg. And here's another newspaper clip that they found talking about it as well, and you can pause to read that if you want. Basically, the idea is that the extreme heat from the fire, which was going potentially for weeks even before it went out to sea, weakened the steel, and when it hit the iceberg, it did way more damage than it normally would have. This wasn't a small fire, it was pretty big because it was a 3-story tall bunker full of coal. And the theory also states that not only did the coal fire weaken the steel, but it was also the reason that the Titanic was going so fast. In order for the crew to fight the fire, they had to take the coal that was burning and put it into the furnace, which was fueling the ship, in order to get rid of it. So it does give an alternate theory on why the captain was speeding through iceberg territory after being warned 4 times that day. Like, the common myth is that he was trying to set a record on getting across the Atlantic the fastest, but I think that's been disproven because these ships were made for luxury, not necessarily speed. And apparently the official investigation tried to downplay the coal fire and say that it wasn't really part of why the ship sank. But in my opinion, this theory is pretty believable. Theory number 2 says that JP Morgan is the reason that the Titanic sank. And he was also the owner of White Star Line, which owned Titanic. So JP Morgan was supposed to be on the Titanic that journey, but he decided to stay in France because he wasn't feeling well, according to some. But other eyewitnesses say they saw him shopping around France while the Titanic was out to sea.
Dude, this JP Morgan, the bank and all that, these guys, have you noticed that they're, I don't know, it's almost like they were destined to be what they are, and all these stories are always about them, and they always involve the names and the people. It's always the same. Always the same people. I mean, if it's not JP Morgan, it'll be the beginning of Wells Fargo, or it'll be somebody else. And it's always the same people. And I don't see how all these people could be involved in the same stories all the time. There's always a story about them, you know? And it's just like, geez, is it that we only focus on them, like the celebrities? We only focus on certain celebrities, so we always hear stories about them? Or what? Maybe these people were just totally in every single fucking story. You know, I don't know. It's weird. Very weird. But I'm going to pause this for a second because I got to go do something. I'll be right back. Okay, I guess we're recording now. I don't know if it was recording or not. Maybe it is. Who knows? Well, that's a nice little outtake, I guess. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it's recording. Okay.
And apparently JP's friend Milton Hershey was also supposed to be on the Titanic that time, but he apparently changed his ticket as well a little bit earlier than JP Morgan though, so it may not have been connected, but he may have tipped him off. But why would JP Morgan want the Titanic to sink, especially if he owned the ship? Well, there are a couple other millionaires on board that may have been opposing one of the projects that he was pitching the United States government. People were John Jacob Astor IV, Benjamin Guggenheim, and Isidor Straus and his wife Ida Straus, who were the owners of Macy's. So that's some pretty powerful people, and the Strauses, they were against the Federal Reserve that JP Morgan was pitching. But that does seem like a lot of effort to put in just to take out 3 people that you could probably do in an easier way. Or it could also be a mix of 2 theories, because in theory number 3 it states that the Titanic never actually sank at all, but it was actually switched out with its sister ship, the Olympic, which was almost identical to the Titanic. And the reason for the swap was insurance fraud. So this part is true, the Olympic had sustained some damage in a collision just a couple months prior to the Titanic launching. The damage was so bad that they had to take 1,000 employees away from Titanic while it was being built just to work on the Olympic to get it back up and running. But between the lost trips and the damage, it cost the company about $20 million. And it delayed the Titanic's launch from March to April. So the theory goes is that they swapped out these ships and painted the Olympic to look like the Titanic. They would send it out to sea, an accident would happen, and then they can collect insurance money. And many surviving passengers did say that there was like new paint being applied as they were getting onto the ship, that they were adding flowers and just making all kinds of last minute tweaks to the ship. And also the Olympic apparently had 16 portholes on the side of the ship, and in all of the photos of the Titanic when it was launching, there were 16 portholes. And apparently the original design of the Titanic only had 14 portholes, but apparently they did add 2 more portholes before launch. So aside from those pieces of evidence, that's about all that there is to support this theory. Now this could be a bit of a stretch, but in all honesty, I wouldn't put it past people like JP Morgan to do something like that. There's definitely been times in history where things like this have definitely played out. And I don't necessarily think that they care about the public seeing or the public being affected or killing innocent people whenever they want to just get what they want to get. But I'm not saying that I completely believe this one either. And in theory number 4, it states that the Titanic actually sank because of a cursed mummy that was on board. And according to this story, a cursed mummy was brought into the cargo section of the Titanic, and it was called the Unlucky Mummy, which is...
Dude, a mummy. I never heard this one. This one's new.
Is a real thing, and apparently there's been a lot of stories of weird things happening wherever this mummy has gone. Apparently it made it onto the ship, and whenever it struck the iceberg, they actually saved it and put it onto a lifeboat. So it was actually saved, and that's why you can still see it at the British Museum. But according to the British Museum, it's only left once in the 90s. Plus, there was no records of a mummy or sarcophagus being stored in the cargo section. And I feel like we definitely would have heard stories about a sarcophagus being in a lifeboat. So that's kind of a fun theory and interesting, but I don't think it's true, obviously. But I do want to look into the history of the actual unlucky mummy, because apparently a lot of weird things happened around it, and if you guys want me to do that video, let me know. But what do you guys think? Do you believe the official story, or do you think that one of these theories may be true, like the coal fire one, or do you have your own theory?
Dude, the Titanic, so much about the Titanic There's so much out there on it. Oh my gosh. I think there's more about it being filled with conspiracy than the actual Titanic, stories about it. It's always a conspiracy. It's such, dude, a rabbit hole. I'm telling you.
Darkest conspiracy theories. The advanced ancient civilization. This theory says that at the time of the Egyptians, the civilization was far more advanced than it is now. And this is also how the pyramids could be explained. Because why are the pyramids in the exact same order as the stars in the Orion's belt? And what is more interesting, why is the speed of light and the altitude of the pyramids the exact same number? So many apparent coincidences, and they don't stop there. Because look at the motherboard of a modern computer and compare this to the lineup of the pyramids. Do you see a certain pattern here? Or is it just another made-up theory?
You ever notice how the smart people keep telling you the world map is complete? Oh yeah, totally. Because of course the entire Earth fits neatly into one cute little globe, wrapped in borders they drew for us like training wheels. Here's the thing, old maps showed extra continents, outer lands, whole regions labeled, "Here be giants." But sure, those were just doodles, medieval fan art, nothing to see there. And Antarctica? Oh please, just a giant ice cube at the bottom of a spinning ball. Nothing strange about the most protected place on Earth being a frozen wasteland no one is allowed to own, explore, or fly over. Yeah, makes perfect sense. Then there's the treaty. Every world power agreeing instantly to leave it alone. Because if there's anything governments love doing, it's cooperating selflessly for 70 years, totally believable. But my favorite part? The maps that slip through the cracks, the ones showing rings of land outside the ice wall. Civilizations not plugged into our little system, territories that conveniently vanished once satellites and official cartography showed up. But I'm sure that's coincidence. Everything is. Compasses glitching near Antarctica, people reporting mountains where the map says ocean, ancient cultures describing Earth as a realm with outer gates. Yep, all imagination. Humans just happen to hallucinate the same images for 5,000 years. Very logical. Look, the world they gave you is the tutorial level. The real one starts outside the fence, but hey, keep staring at your globe. I'm sure it's the whole story.
What if I told you Elvis Presley didn't die in 1977? He vanished because he got too close to the truth. Here's the theory. Elvis wasn't just the king of rock. He had deep ties to the U.S. government. Rumors say he worked as an undercover DEA informant, that his fame gave him access no one else had. In his final years, he started talking about secret operations, drug trafficking through record labels, and a music industry tied to intelligence networks. Then suddenly, a heart attack at 42, no autopsy, conflicting reports, and the body oddly swollen, wrong sideburns. Even close friends said that wasn't him. Since then, there have been dozens of sightings at airports, backstage at concerts, even as a background actor in Home Alone. But here's the kicker. In 1994, a man calling himself Jesse sent DNA to a journalist. It matched Elvis's cousin, and Jesse was Elvis's stillborn twin. So ask yourself, was the king buried, or did he trade the stage for secrecy? Because according to this theory, Elvis didn't leave the building, he disappeared behind it.
Did you guys know about the pastor that's saying that he's Elvis now? Yep, everybody thinks this pastor at a church is Elvis, and sounds like him, sings like him, walks like him, smells like him, eats like him. And he finally came out, and I think he finally came out and said it, that yep, I'm Elvis. And I don't know, that's a rabbit hole in itself. I don't follow the Elvis rabbit hole, I only see it every now and then. And of course, with the pastor, the same thing. I just saw it, but I don't know. I think people, when they get to a certain level of fame, probably end up working for the government because they can get in places that regular people can't get into. and they probably go into witness protection and change their name, change their look, change everything. And then later on in life, they just don't give a shit and go back to their normal ways. And that's when they're all like, oh, there he is. I saw him. He's right there. Oh. So that's probably how it goes.
A secret military base ran mind control experiments on children, and the government still won't release the files. Camp Hero on Long Island was officially decommissioned in 1969, but former workers claim underground levels stayed active for decades after. They say children were used in psychological experiments, some involving time manipulation. Whistleblowers described a chair that could allegedly influence a person's perception of reality itself. Local residents reported strange electromagnetic disturbances for years. The base was sealed and buried under sand in the 1980s. To this day, the lower levels have never been fully excavated. What's still buried under Camp Hero?
Probably absolutely nothing. Nothing at all. And that's the end. Guys, I'm really sorry about all the cats and the noise and all that. I'm going to try to make it better in the next one. But if you did like what was shown, please subscribe. I'm going to be doing a lot more. I do have a Patreon. I am going to be setting that up. If you guys want, you could join that. If you could, share this. Let's get this out there. I do have a sob story, but I'm not going to get into it. I'm going to try to do this without playing on anybody's heartstrings. So I do have a GoFundMe, and I am going to be putting on the links here. And yeah, I'm going to be trying to do this good. If I could get it going, I'm going to get some really good stuff going. I got music, video games, all that I'm going to be trying to go with. I do have a Spotify channel. If you look it up, Legion2234. Got some good music, and I got a lot more coming out. Give it a check. Please subscribe, like it, and yeah, we'll go on from there. Thanks for watching with me. See you next time.
In May 1968,